When we think about great leaders, we usually picture these perfect, flawless figures, right? But what if I told you that some of the most powerful leadership doesn't come from perfection at all, but from really, truly messing up? Today, we're going to dive into an incredible story about a leader who was forged in the fire of his own mistakes. And it all starts in a very, very strange place. Okay, get this. For 40 straight years, while the ancient Israelites are wandering through the desert, the bones of one of their most important founding leaders are not resting in peace. The Talmud, this huge central text of Jewish tradition, tells us his bones were literally rattling around inside his coffin. It was a physical sign that something was deeply, spiritually wrong. I mean, that is just a haunting image, isn't it? And it begs the question, why? Who was this leader, and what on earth could he have done to have such an unsettled fate, even long after he was gone? The answer, it turns out, gives us a model for leadership that is, I think, more relevant now than ever before. So who is this leader with the unsettled rest? We're talking about Judah. Yes, that Judah, the fourth son of Jacob, the one the Jewish people literally get their name from. And this bizarre story about his bones comes from a specific section of the Talmud. It really sets the stage for this incredible journey of failure, of taking responsibility, and of a leadership style that isn't built on being perfect, but on the tough work of making things right. Now, to really understand Judah's path, you kind of need to put him side by side with someone else. And there's no better comparison than his younger brother Joseph. You see, Joseph represents one type of leader, the ideal, the one who does everything right. And Judah, well, Judah represents something completely different, something a lot more human. So here you have these two totally different models. On one side, there's Joseph. He's the ideal, the golden boy. He literally dreams about becoming a leader. He keeps his integrity, even as a slave in Egypt, and he famously resists temptation. He's almost flawless. And then there's Judah. He's the real. He's the one who comes up with the idea to sell his own brother into slavery. He has this huge, public, shameful moment. His story is all about falling down. And then, and this is the key part, finding a way to get back up. Judah's journey to becoming the leader of his family and eventually the ancestor of kings was not some overnight transformation. Not at all. It was this slow, difficult process, marked by these key moments where he was forced to look his own failures right in the eye and take on this immense weight of responsibility. So let's actually walk through how it happened. This is step one. His brothers are literally about to murder Joseph, and it's Judah who steps in. He makes an argument against it. Now, let's be clear. Suggesting they sell their brother into slavery instead is not exactly heroic. But in that moment, it's a small, very imperfect step away from a total catastrophe. You can almost see his conscience starting to flicker on. And this is the turning point. This is the moment everything changes. Years later, Judah is publicly called out by his daughter-in-law, Tamar, for wronging her. He had every reason to deny it, to save his reputation, but instead, in front of everyone, he says, "She is more righteous than I." Just think about that for a second. This is a leader publicly admitting a deep, personal, moral failure. This is where the real work of repair begins. And this right here shows just how far he's come. Years later, his family is in crisis, and he has to convince his father to let his youngest brother, Benjamin, travel to Egypt. So Judah makes this unbelievable pledge. He says, "I will be his guarantee. If I don't bring him back, let me be guilty before you for all time." He's literally putting his own eternal soul on the line for his brother and his family. That is what absolute responsibility looks like. But even after all that growth, Judah's journey still wasn't quite complete. And this brings us right back to the beginning, to those rattling bones. For 40 years in the desert, his leadership wasn't fully recognized, his soul wasn't fully at peace. It actually took Moses himself, with a very specific 4-part prayer, to finally finish the job and give Judah's soul some rest. Moses' prayer isn't just some generic blessing. It's like a step-by-step process for elevating a leader. First, he asks God to just hear Judah, to recognize his flawed voice. Second, he asks to bring him to his people, to reintegrate him into the leadership. Third, to give him real, legitimate authority. And fourth, to validate that authority by helping him succeed. Each step builds perfectly on the one before it. Okay, let's just pause on that third step for a second, because it's so powerful. The Hebrew phrase is yadav rav lo, which gets translated as, "let his hands be sufficient for him."
This isn't just a blessing for, good luck. It's a prayer for ultimate authority. Moses is asking that Judah's leadership and his judgment be seen as legitimate, not just by the people on earth, but in the heavenly court too. It's about connecting worldly leadership to a higher cosmic purpose. So with that final blessing from Moses, Judah's long repair is finally complete. It's an amazing, dramatic story. But what does it actually mean for us? Why should this ancient tale about a deeply flawed leader matter to anyone today? Well, it matters because it gives us a completely different way to think about leadership, one that pushes back against our modern obsession with finding perfect, flawless heroes. So this Judah model is something we can really learn from. It's a leadership that chooses accountability over the myth of perfection. It's a leadership that actually gets stronger when things go wrong. It's about total dedication to the group. And maybe most importantly, it shows us how to turn a personal screw-up into a source of public strength and moral clarity.
Look, if there's one single thing to take away from this whole story, it's this. We have this idea that great leaders are the ones who never mess up. But the story of Judah tells us the exact opposite. Maybe the greatest leaders aren't the ones who never fall down. Maybe they're the ones who have mastered the art of getting back up, of owning their mistakes, of fixing the damage, and of growing because of it. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. When things get really tough, when our communities or our countries are facing a major crisis, what kind of leader do we actually need? Do we need the flawless ideal, the Joseph? Or do we need the leader who's been through the fire? The one who's a master of the difficult, messy, but essential art of repair?